Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brainwaves. I'm Brandon Staglin, your host. Today on Brainwaves, we're going to talk about music and the mental health cause. Just about everyone enjoys listening to music, and some accounts, like the film Alive Inside, suggest that it can be a powerful promoter of mental health. Scientific studies even indicate that training in music can help young people improve their abilities in cognitive areas like mathematics or language or spatial reasoning. But moreover, music can be a powerful tool to bring people together in pursuit of a cause or just for social cohesion. It's an amazing thing. But enough of the science. Today on Brainwaves, I interviewed two mental health advocates with lived experience who are also musicians and use their music in their advocacy. Jonathan Bray plays lead guitar in a Denver rock band called The Hollow, and Bethany Iser is a published author, motivational speaker, blogger, and musician as well. And I'd like to welcome them both to Brainwaves today. Now, before
Thank you.
oh, yeah, thanks for joining, Bethany, and Jonathan, thank you for joining too.
Thank you so
So
much.
great. Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Start by having you each introduce yourselves, but before we do that, I want to let the audience know that after this interview, you'll be able to log on to IMRO's website and ask them each your own questions. So, Jonathan, I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself. How did you come to found The Hollow with your bandmates, and why does the band advocate for mental health awareness?
Well, thank you so much, Brandon. It's a pleasure to be here, and the work that you guys at One Mind Institute do is really powerful and very, very meaningful to us. The Hollow is a band that I co-founded with my best friend Spencer. We've known each other for a long time. We went to college together and been in a couple different projects, and we're really excited about this project because it feels like the beginning of something serious. And that's a great quote that we love to think about when we're talking about our music. And where it all kind of came together for us is the mental health component, and sharing in the dialogue and sharing in the discussion around mental health. And it's where we've experienced things like anxiety and depression, and as well. And I think we have a stronger sense of purpose around the music that we make and the community that we share it with.
Great, Jonathan. Yeah, thanks for that introduction. And Bethany, likewise, I'm really glad you're on as well.
Thank
So,
you.
Bethany, quite the life. You're a star student, a musician, and an advocate for others from an early age, but looks like your genetic heritage may have thrown you a curveball. How did you come to be a musician? And moreover, how did you come to be an advocate for the mental health cause?
When I was younger, schizophrenia was something that I never dreamed could happen to me. I had a wonderful, happy, stress-free childhood. Became very serious about the violin at age 13. I was accepted as a student of a violin professor, played in the Cleveland Orchestra Youth Orchestra. When I started college, I was concertmaster of the community orchestra. It was one of the happiest times of my life. I was studying biochemistry at the University of Southern California. The second semester of my freshman year of college, I became very, very busy playing violin, taking classes, working in the lab. I didn't realize I was becoming isolated. You look back, when does normal become abnormal? When does a commitment become an obsession? As the years went by, I lost lots of friends at the university. And I decided to take a trip actually by myself to rural Africa after my third year of college. And when I came back from Africa, it was the beginning of my senior year, and it was at that time, just months before I was supposed to graduate, that I had my first psychotic break. I wanted to sell everything I had and give the money to Africa. I wanted my parents to sell their house to give the money to Africa. I'd enrolled in classes just like before, bought the textbooks, attended the lectures, but for the first time in my life, even with my best efforts, I couldn't study anymore. It was very difficult to explain what was happening to my parents. I came back from Africa with a new personality. I was agitated. I wasn't making sense. I couldn't focus. I wanted to travel again to Thailand to learn more about people in poverty. I was starting to think that I was going to be like Mother Teresa, maybe win a Nobel Peace Prize. And these delusions were really debilitating. I couldn't study because of my delusions, and I just couldn't move on. About 6 months later, I refused to speak with my loving family, couldn't focus in school, and I left the dormitory, and I actually became homeless. Had no idea that I would be homeless for a period of 4 years, including 1 year actually sleeping outside. During this 4 years of homelessness, I never touched a violin. But finally, thanks to excellent treatment from my doctor and the support of my parents, I did slowly begin to recover from schizophrenia. And as soon as I began medication, as soon as I really felt like me again, I wanted to play the violin. Now, during the time that I couldn't study anymore, that I was selling things, sending the money to Africa, I also sold my violin. When I got better, something happened that I saw as a miracle, really. A family friend gave me a new violin. As I got better and better over the course of a year and a half, I prepared to transfer to the University of Cincinnati and begin college. And with every passing month, my violin ability was coming back. And today I play for church events, fundraisers, weddings. I've taught violin again. But it's been really interesting to see that as I've gotten better from mental illness, I've gotten back my healthy relationship with my violin. And to this day, I'm grateful for music. That's always been such a huge part of my life.
Bethany, that's fantastic to hear. I'm so happy to hear you're back doing what you love again, now that you've gotten somewhat better with your health. That's a great story. So Jonathan, musician Michael Franti has said that everyone finds their own path to peace. Your band plays very powerful, high-quality hard rock music, but it often has a dark-sounding emotional tone. But as your bandmate Spencer Hughes has said, your band and your bandmates tend to be feel very upbeat. Music of this tone foster your well-being and fulfillment. And to what do you attribute this effect?
Well, yeah, thanks, Brandon, for the question. And just to step back just real quick and just say, Bethany, appreciate you sharing your story. I think it's an incredible story and a message that is very needed to, and the strength and what you've been able to accomplish, I think, gives other people strength to know that they're not alone, and that they can also make the strides to have a back towards joy and happiness and wellness. And I think, for us, I've always loved music growing up. I've always loved listening to rock music. To your question, our music is dark, and it has a sense of a looming certainty. And an overarching theme in our music is to do the things that you want to do and not wait to go out and live your life. If you want to paint, if you want to dance, if you want to sing, if you want to, start a company, if you want to, this is the time to do it. And there are people out there that will support you and help you get to that point. And so that's what we say every time every time we play a show. We're so thrilled that we can, people and have the opportunity to rehearse music in the wings. And just like your quote was saying, music has been a tremendous part of how I've had a path back towards wellness and joy, because I just enjoy it so much. And that's really our message is we want to help encourage people to, if you have that musical piece and that musical bone in your body, exercise it. I was just reading a study about music and how it's a great exercise for the mind. And I think that's a component of why I feel such a flow like state when I'm able to really focus in on the music and the notes, and everything else just kind of fades away. And it's just us with the music, and then what it does to a community. It brings people together. Music has always been a thing that we've used so it's been it's been a part of our human DNA, since the beginning. So it's really exciting to be able to live life and play music. So
Jonathan, that makes a lot of sense, and I love hearing your perspective as well on that. I play music too. I play a little guitar. I'm not nearly as good as either of you, but I really enjoy it, and I feel that it enhances my mental clarity when I do it often. Um, Great. So Bethany, how have you observed your music affect your audiences, and why do you think it has this effect?
It's been very enjoyable to tell my story, the saddest parts, the most emotional parts, through my writing or while I speak. But when I actually play violin for an audience, I feel that we make this really special emotional connection. Plus, I think it's unusual for somebody with the struggles I've had, the schizophrenia, to come back, play music again at a very high level. I hope that when people hear me perform on violin, they will remember my story. They'll remember that I got better, and perhaps they'll have a different view on what it means to have schizophrenia.
You're living proof, definitely. So, Jonathan, your band is a champion of raising awareness for mental health issues. And how is your music involved in your advocacy?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for that. I'll start with Spencer as fine and a great songwriter. I really enjoy working with him and the creative element. And I think we find such joy in that creative element and that sort of flow-like state in interacting with music and creating music and crafting it into songs. And there's a particular song that that we've written called Cages, and it is a song that is a story about when Spencer was younger. I believe 9 years old. He was at the lake, and he experienced his first panic attack at that age. He had a moment where he was being submerged underwater, and he just had this extreme anxiety feeling. And then it came back in a situation when we were actually co-workers, and he wrote that song as if the words and the story in the song were actually about the protagonist or the antagonist view. And so the lyrics of the song, and when he tells that story and you listen to the lyrics of the song Cages, it's really powerful. It's extremely compelling and emotional. And people that have that ability to share their experience with mental health and challenges that they have, it's really powerful, because what we're finding more and more is that more and more people do experience some, and it's a thing that should be discussed more, and might not be discussed as much because of fear of any number of things. But I think being aware of that and being able to share that and being courageous like you are, Beth, is learning more and more that we're not so alone, and we found that through music. That's our vehicle to for ourselves, and it's our own outlet. But we've been excited more and more to share that with our community and our fans and family, and we say our Crow community. So thank you.
Jonathan, that's great. Thanks for sharing. Bethany, what have you learned from your advocacy and your experiences with music and advocacy that you'd like to share?
First of all, the stigma of schizophrenia is incredibly strong. I remember I went to see a family doctor in 2008, and she saw antipsychotic medication in my chart. She said, you wouldn't need that if you didn't do drugs, and I've never done drugs or drank alcohol. Surprise. I got better. I went back to college, and I wanted to tell people what had happened all these years of my life of being sick and then making a full recovery, getting A's in school. And every time I would mention my recovery to any of the other students, the relationship would just end. People didn't know what to think of it. I think people would hear the word schizophrenia and become afraid. So I started to feel like I was living under the shadow where nobody really knew who I was. And publishing my book was wonderful for me, not just professionally, but also personally. People would read it and they begin to understand, or they might tell me they learned something. So I have learned, again, that the stigma is incredibly strong, but I also believe that with time and with more and more of us sharing our stories, the stigma will be reduced. I'm delighted I'm in a position right now where I can do this advocacy and fight the stigma, and it's really a very exciting time.
Any closing comments from either of you, or anything else you'd like to say? Start with you, Jonathan.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I agree, Bethany. I think that's an incredible thing, is to start to help reduce the stigma, and through conversation and dialogue and advocacy is the first steps. And we're just extremely thrilled to be able to be part of the conversation. If you're interested in hearing some of looking at the lyrics to Cages, or hearing some of our music, you could check out our website at thehollow.com. And we would appreciate any feedback and how it may affect you or not. I think the lyrics are pretty powerful. So we just really appreciate you, Brandon, for having us on today, that we could chat about something that's really important to us. And I think, as you were saying, Bethany, we're in a really exciting time. I think, with the science that's out there, you look at fMRI technology didn't exist or wasn't really being used, 20 years ago. We're just starting to, scratch the surface in terms of understanding how our brain works. So I appreciate all the, neuroscientists out there, and the treatments that are becoming available every day, and the social change that's happening as well with people like you, Bethany, that have the courage to share that story. So we really appreciate it, Brandon. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, Jonathan. I'm delighted to be on here with IMHRO. I'd just like to close by, inviting new patients and their families to never give up. There are so many new treatments available today. There are many medications. They're getting better every few years. Again, schizophrenia is not a life sentence. It's not something to be ashamed of. There's no shame in taking a medication for any illness. And I would encourage patients and their families to really do the research. Having schizophrenia doesn't mean that you're weak, or that you've done anything wrong, or that you have an eccentric personality. And when we really better understand this illness and that it's a treatable brain disease, I think that we reduce the stigma. And so I'm delighted to partner with IMHRO to continue educating and inspiring patients.
Thanks, Bethany. You're definitely inspiring in that regard. So when I post this video on the Brainwaves page, are you both ready to answer some questions? Jonathan, are you?
Yes, sir.
I am too.
Bethany? All right. Well, thanks to you both, and have a great day, both of you.
Thanks so much, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.